of things, because today another announcement in Senate District 13. Mike Smith, Republican, announced that he is officially tossing his hat in the ring for the seat vacated by Senate President Teresa Paiva-Weed down in Newport in Jamestown. And being on the studio on the street, I did see him walk in the building here, so I do know that Mike Smith is around the corner.
Here we go.
Thanks for coming in
Hello,
today.
how are you?
I appreciate you coming all the way up to Providence.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have you put your right foot right here.
Okay.
And this is where the magic happens.
Hello.
And the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, and you've got your
This is
sticker.
awesome. I do. Should I wear it? No.
Do you have it on?
Well, it's a sticker button, yeah. So.
Oh, okay, sticker button. Very good. So you had the big kickoff today at noontime.
Yeah, we had a great turnout. It was a lot of fun. We were out at King Park, which overlooks the entire bay, where the statue of Rochambeau overlooks the bay, and great view of the bridge, and a lot of excitement. My wife and kids were there, and a bunch of supporters, and it was a lot of fun.
You are now a seasoned professional.
Oh, well, I guess
Doing campaigns.
Professional at campaigning, right?
Well, now you're looking for the seat that you would actually run against Teresa Paiva-Weed.
Mm-hmm.
Came the closest to unseating her back in 2014.
Yes, it was a lot of fun, a lot of challenges, but looking forward to getting back out there and meeting the voters and the people of Newport and Jamestown again.
So I want to ask you a few questions, about maybe issues at the state right now. You've talked about these before in the campaign trail. Maybe sort of the hot button topics. Just had sports economist Dr. Kahane from Providence College talking about the stadium proposal that we've yet to see for the Pawtucket Red Sox. And again, that's going to come before the General Assembly. They basically took commerce out of the equation, it looks like this time around. Again, the special election's not until the summer, so you won't be here if elected this session. But what's your take on it as the Pawtucket Red Sox are looking to the state for, again, some sort of investment of which we don't know, just 2 years after they looked for it in 2015?
Well, I think there has to be, we have to meet both ways. I don't think we need to go, some people, some of my Republican colleagues will get upset because they're kind of like, no funding, no nothing. But, I lived down south for about 10 years, and we had a number of major initiatives with like the Atlanta Braves Park and other areas that brought the public out. And I think we do need to have sometimes both state and private ventures if it's deemed that it'll be beneficial to both. But I don't think that we need to go as extreme as like we've had in the past with like 38 studios and things like that. So,
do you think that, 38 studios, has it left such a bad taste in the taxpayer's mouth? We've talked about this. Do you think that folks are so gun shy to do anything because, let's face it, we didn't get documents from the state police from the investigation in any way, shape, or form that assuaged the voters?
Yeah.
So do you think that, from your standpoint, you're kind of saying, does Rhode Island have to move past this?
Well, that's part of the reason I'm running is we need to change the way our government is, and right now we've been so burned so many times, and a lot of it is just because we have so many scandals and things going on. We had the issue with Ray Gallison, and we've had the House, the Senate, the House Speaker before that, and different situations, and it's unfortunate, but we still need to move on, and we still need to realize that that's one of the reasons we're one of the 50th worst states in the country for business. Is we're not we're still thinking back in the past, and we need to elect new leaders and people that have maybe a newer and fresher vision, a younger vision. And
another hot button topic just saw this past week ago, marijuana legalization in the state. What's your views on that?
Well, I'm a father of 3 kids, and I am all for medical marijuana, but I really think there's a mixed message when you're telling kids that it's okay to smoke pot, but it's not okay to smoke cigarettes. So I'm not 100% behind legalization of marijuana. I think that we can grow our economy through actual businesses that manufacture products and that redistribute goods. And but I am all for the medical form of marijuana and for having dispensaries and things that are needed for the medicinal use of it.
And you talk about business development. I know in your release that you sent today, you talked about Newport and Jamestown becoming so dependent on tourism and the need to diversify the economy down there. Talk to us a little bit about your platform and what you see as needed down specifically in the district.
Well, I'm part of what is kind of a dying breed in Newport and Jamestown, and that's actually a family that's trying to live year-round. And I actually own a small business. I own an electrical distributorship in Newport. Hi, kids. And
they were on earlier. They were still hanging out. See, it's fun.
It is. But the situation in Newport and Jamestown has become far too dependent on tourism. I encourage tourism, but we can't just totally be dependent on that. And the situation with Newport, a lot of people don't realize. For one, Newport's population has dropped 50% in the last 40 years, and it's projected to drop another 15% in the next 12 years. And the reasons for that is because the average family cannot afford to live there, and the other reason is there's no jobs. So we need to diversify our economy and create year-round jobs.
And what's going to happen down there with the old Newport Grand? What should happen with the old Newport Grand?
Well, there's opportunities. Of course, a lot of people don't know it's built on a large dump there, so there's some environmental issues there that I'm sure are going to seep up. But there's lots of things. There's talk. There's going to be lands opened up with the Navy's releasing lands. We're also looking to realign the bridge to nowhere. If you've ever gotten off the bridge in Newport, you kind of go around in a circle and you end up back in the same place. So
pretty much.
There's a realignment of the bridge. It's going to open up about 75 acres of land, and so there's a lot of movement as far as open space, small business parks. Maybe some parks to have tech parks and support the Navy. So there's opportunities there. It's been talked about for many years, and that's one of the reasons I'm going up there, is to propel this movement to create a year-round economy in Newport and Jamestown.
And you're a Republican. Now, you had run as a Republican in 2014, ran as an independent in 2016, and decided to kind of get back into the match. Talk to us a little bit about that political journey that you've taken.
Well, I'm an independent thinker, and the reason I say that is because I wasn't 100% behind what was going on in the Republican Party last year. I wasn't 100% behind the candidate that was running for president at that time. Just like Obama, who I wasn't a huge fan of, I supported him as my president, and I need to support Trump as my president, even though I don't agree with everything. And I say this as a Republican. Republicans are, just like with the healthcare bill that recently got shot down, Republicans are not just going to fall in line. And I believe in the party of Abraham Lincoln and of Ronald Reagan, and I like William F. Buckley. And so, and so that's
okay,
where I am.
Okay, he's gotten his political heroes over here.
Yeah. So
do you
nerdy.
think that, again, this is a special election, and if clearly we're in cycle for 18, do you see potential for the Republican Party here in the state in 18?
I see potential for any party that can bring fresh thinking and new ideas to the State House. We need to we are stuck in the past. Our car is broken down and on fire, and we're trying to fix the headlights. And so whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, as long as we can bring fresh thinking that is for small business growing in our state and for families being able to afford to live here, then who knows what party that'll be.
So you talk about, again, the focus on small business, and one of the things I often like to ask guests when they come in is to talk about the obviously statewide approach. Your thoughts on Governor Raimondo's approach with commerce, with the incentives to bring big companies here, with kind of big tickets associated with that. Is that the way that the state should be approaching economic development?
No. Small business is our largest employer. Just like Go Local Prov, you're a small, innovative, dynamic force that is able to appear large, but you are large. I'm not saying that, but
I know where you're getting.
Right,
yes.
And what I'm saying is our largest employer in the state is actually companies that employ 10 or less employees, and we're throwing our dice all for a company that's willing to have 50 employees, but because it has a big name, we want to make it look like a big political move for us. We really need to invest in more small businesses because that's our largest employer.
And I saw in your release, Mike, one of the campaign co-chairs, Mayor Fung.
Yes.
How involved do you expect him to be with this?
Well, we all sat it was pretty exciting. I'm not going to name all the names. Some of them were in my press release, but.
Could bring you a little closer over here, because we're getting you a little
sorry.
out of screen.
I'm
No
moving
worries.
away. We had
Just trying to get out back on the campaign trail as fast as you can.
Actually, I'm walking that. So we had a group of people just the other night, and Alan Fung was one of them. We're all sitting around a Dunkin' Donuts for 3 hours, and you'd think we came out of a bar and we had nothing to do, but actually we were just sitting there drinking coffee all night and talking strategy to implement some new thinking in our state. And these were some key people and some influential people in our state, and they had a lot better things to do than sit around with a guy named Mike Smith. But the reality is these people, including Alan Fung, who's doing a great job, are interested in new and fresh thinking for our state.
And one of the things that Alan Fung had just done in Cranston was pass the ordinance, overseeing the city council, being supportive of the Republican ordinance to address panhandling. And it wasn't panhandling, it was the road safety ordinance. So it was the distribution from goods to between vehicles. So it was firefighters looking for money and kids, little leaguers looking for money. But it was basically looked at as a way that he called for a safety ordinance. Now, I believe John Flores, who's one of the Democratic candidates for this District 13 seat, was supportive of that in Newport as well.
Yes.
Do you see something like that moving forward in Newport?
I see I'm for maybe a revamped version of that, maybe having safe areas and not just banning firefighters from being able to collect money and things like that.
I believe there's safe areas in Cranston. Don't quote me on that, but we'd have to take a look at that.
I don't know. I know that.
But you'd want to see that in there.
Right. I mean, obviously, as a driver, there is a potential risk, especially with where certain people position themselves. I'm sorry about their cause, but when you're positioned in an off ramp from a bridge or a turn lane onto a bridge, it can be pretty scary. Yeah.
And so you talk about looking to further small businesses in Newport. What else are the needs in District 13 that you'd be looking to, really represent up at the State House?
Well, obviously, jobs. It's jobs. But the environment is always an important thing for us. We bring in over 3 million visitors to our little villages named Newport and Jamestown each year. So there's a huge taxing on the infrastructure and on the things like water and sewer. I think protecting our environment for the people that do live there year round is a very important one of my things that's very important to me as well.
So again, as I said, you're a seasoned pro on the campaign trail. You just announced today. What's your plan for the coming weeks as we're looking at the special election this summer?
It's really just getting everything ready and also going through lots of data, because with the special election, it's a little different than a normal election. You have a lot fewer people are going to be voting in August in the middle of tourist season in Newport and Jamestown, and so it's really identifying who are these voters going to be, and really trying to get the message out to them. You're really going to be talking about the weird science type of political person that's going to be really involved in politics in August. So appeal to those folks and then get them to the polls. Right.
And of course, your Democratic, the Democratic candidates are going to be looking to do the same thing as well.
I would think. Right.
John Flores Skyped in, David Aller did come, and we did extend an invitation to Don Ewer. So it should be an exciting race. Again, you ready to get back into it?
Yeah, it's fun. I know it's kind of weird. A lot of people are like, "What's wrong with you?" But there's something fun about being able to not just get out there and meet people and being able to express your views, but there's something about there's something about being able to possibly be a voice of change. Because you know what, we all can be a voice of change, even though it seems impossible. When I ran against Paiva Weed a couple of years ago, it was people were just like, "Are you crazy?" It's like you have no chance whatsoever. And I had never run in a race before. I didn't know anything hardly about politics, and we came, within a few hundred votes of that race. So it can be done.
It can be done, says Mike Smith, who again announced today his candidacy for Senate District 13 to replace outgoing Senate President Teresa Paiva-Weed, running as a Republican. And tell folks website, Facebook, and where they should go.
VoteMikeSmith.com, and there's everything's on there. And if you need to get involved or find out more about my campaign, or donate some coffee or a couple bucks or whatever. But yeah, that's it.
Will fundraising be a big component of this?
Yes and no. Obviously, funds are a necessary evil, but I think it's more. This is a race more about smarts.
And it sounds like a real retail politics race
really
here.
Is, yeah.
And VoteMikeSmith.com. No other Mike Smiths around the country.
I know, it's amazing,
Once you get this URL back in 2000?
When I came in today, do you know this? My friend has a friend named Mike Smith, and I have a couple friends named Mike Smith as well. Like, we all know a Mike Smith, and that's why I can't order a pizza, because they think that I'm some prank phone caller or something. But
yet you have the URL.
I was able to find it at VoteMikeSmith.com. I should actually, if I do lose the election, I could probably sell it.
That might be of value, but you're counting on that to push you through. Mike Smith, I appreciate your coming in tonight. I'm sure we'll talk in the coming weeks as you hit the trail. So keep us posted. Running again for Senate District 13, Newport and Jamestown.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Right.
Mike Smith,
Bye.
thank you very much.